Committee meeting on June 12, 2023 at 7:10 p.m. We have one item on the agenda this evening, a transfer request for capital improvement projects. And I will begin by reading the letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, enclosed, please find for your review and approval various transfer requests in the total amount of $1,598,076.10 from free cash to the following accounts associated with the city clerks: Marlborough Police, Fire, Info Technology Department of Public Works, and Veteran Services. First and foremost, as requested, is $152,000 for the clerk's office for new polling equipment. The Marlborough Police Department is requesting $325,076.10 for 3 marked cruisers, 31 bulletproof vests to replace expired ones, and 60 new tasers, including cartridges and battery packs. As a note, a $35,983.20 payment will be allocated each year of the 5-year capital plan for the tasers. We have allocated $380,000 to the IT department to complete the firewall replacement on the west side of the city, as well as vital security enhancements for our networks. The Marlborough Fire Department has a long-standing request to replace its mattresses, and we have allocated $25,000 to fulfill this need. In addition, the Department of Public Works is requesting $701,000 to replace numerous vehicles in the enclosed list, as well as upgraded wash bay equipment. It is imperative that the DPW staff maintain and clean all vehicles to increase the lifespan, especially during winter months, to prevent corrosion from salt and de-icing compounds. Veteran Services would like to replace all 15 Veteran Square signs with a good quality galvanized metal sign to include a photo of the honored veteran. Veteran Services is working with local vendor and estimate this project at $15,000. Please note that this list was difficult to prioritize, as there are many departments with legitimate needs for upgraded equipment, some to fulfill public safety requirements and cybersecurity needs this upcoming fiscal year. The city will need to upgrade our public safety communications, which is part of the $4 million multi-year project affecting police, fire, and IT. We are hopeful that we will be receiving $175,000 in grant funding to move forward with this project and anticipate a need for future funding. Appropriate department heads will be on hand to answer any questions and for the future meeting. Sincerely, Arthur G. Vigent, Mayor. And for the committee, we have the list of the capital improvement projects. The first one on there is, and we can go right, if it's okay with the committee, we'll just go right in the order if you have questions. The first one is the clerk and polling equipment, if we have questions for the city clerk. Council Perman.
I don't know if the city clerk can come to the well. Thank you. Thank you, Clerk Kerrigan. I just wanted clarification. I know this has been on the agenda in the past to come to committee, but could you just clarify what voting equipment this is going towards, just in case anyone wants to know what is being replaced?
Absolutely. The plan is to buy new voting booths for the entire city, for all 14 precincts that we have throughout the city. Currently, we have, they were built a few years ago by the Assabet students. I know former Commissioner Galoni worked very hard to get that done. But they're big, they're bulky, they're very cumbersome to move if we have to kind of shift them around in the polling location. Plus, we're limited to only 6 voting stalls per precinct. The new ones that we're purchasing, they're a lot lighter, easier to move, and easier to maneuver around. And they're in a circular, so there'll be 4 at each. So the plan is now to have 12 voting stalls at each precinct. So we're going to kind of double the amount. That's the first part of it. That's about $42,000 of it. The $110,000 is to purchase actual new voting machines. We currently use a product called AccuVote, and we purchased those machines in 2007. When we took ownership of them in 2007, they had discontinued the use of them in 2007. So we've had them for roughly 16 years. They still work. We've had no issues, no problems with them. But I just felt that it was time to get new equipment. They've had 2 and 3 reiterations of different types of machines. So we will be bringing in the 2 companies that they allow in Massachusetts, because there's only 2 choices you have in Massachusetts, 2 companies you can choose from that the Secretary allows us. So we'll have both of them come in and do a demonstration for us, and kind of, we'll run them through their paces and see which one we think fits best for our community, and then we'll purchase those. So that's what the plan is to buy both machines and voting booths.
I appreciate that clarification, and just so my understanding, and for folks who might be listening, that this is what counts the ballots. It's a
Correct,
machine.
yes.
So that's just a clarification, yes.
Nothing will change with actual ballots. Massachusetts is a paper ballot state, and as far as I can tell, it will remain a paper ballot state. So you will still receive a ballot. You're going to have to physically mark it. This is what you would feed your ballot into. Right now, the machine just kind of quickly zips it in. This machine's going to do the same thing. It's just going to count the circle that you fill in, is really all it's going to do.
Well, it's great that we're going to get those replaced, because 2007, it's
But
been
I'm
quite
hopeful.
some time.
I'm hopeful, yes. So,
Okay, well, thank you. No further questions.
thank you.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just to go a little bit further on that, you said the ones you bought in 2007 were already at the end of their life.
Well, it wasn't at the end of their life. They just stopped producing them in 2007. So they weren't making them anymore. There were no upgrades to them. There was no nothing. I mean, so and many communities across the Commonwealth still use them. I mean, they're slowly phasing them out because the company that does service them has said they're really coming to the end of their life cycle. I mean, they've lasted us for 16 years, and I didn't do the math, but I don't know how many countless elections that they've done. So, I mean, they're getting tired. They're going to break down, and they're running out of parts to replace them. So, really.
Right, we got our mileage out of them.
We
so
did.
I'm not arguing that
Yes.
at all. I'm just concerned, I'm wondering if we're going to be in a similar situation, or at least as part of the criteria for choosing, are we taking into account basically, what's the longevity of these machines as far as support goes? And how, are we going to end up in the same situation where a year or 2 later, they're going to stop?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, the 2 types of machines that are out, it's a company called ES&S and LHS. Those are the 2 companies that we can purchase from that are on this, basically on the state bid list, that they're the only ones allowed to use their machines in Massachusetts. Both of them, they've been around for a long time. There have been upgrades to them, but I mean, so we could buy this machine this year or next year, and 5 years from now, they could have a newer model come out that may be a little faster or has a different bell or a whistle on it, but I mean, it's not going to, the products are here pretty much for the long haul.
Right.
Yes.
And we can expect similar life expectancy for the next round of machines.
I would imagine, yes. I mean, I would imagine at least 15 or, almost 20 years, yes.
Okay. Yep, thank you, appreciate it.
Councilor Long.
You already answered my first question, Steve, and that
Okay.
was the longevity of the new ones you're buying. I'm glad to hear they're on the state procurement list as well. Both companies have been around for a while, you said.
Been around for a long time, yes, both companies have.
And the other part, the polling booths, for accessibility, for
Yep,
anyone that-
each one of those stalls, so to speak, I don't know what else to call it, the vote, as I said, it's a circular type voting booth. Each one will have a handicap accessible. So I mean, so really we'll go from, currently we have 6 booths at all the polling locations, 5 regular booths, 1 handicap accessible booth with the lower. Now with the new configuration, each set of 4 will have 1 handicap. So we'll go from 1 to 3 handicap accessible booths. There's still, anyone can use them, but it's just that the deck is a little bit lower, so.
And the ones that are accessible to other people that may need that accessibility, do they offer any privacy so that?
Yes, there's the booths that they have, and I mean, I
have a
can certainly
picture?
give you a picture of it. I have a picture of it. It's not in color, but I'm happy
Oh,
to.
then I don't want to look at it.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're kind of in a circular motion. And I have,
Can I pass this around
no,
to?
I have enough for everybody.
Okay,
Last page.
I'll pass it down that way in a minute.
I think there's a need for that many. I think there's a need for that many.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Chair, that's my only questions, and the clerk has answered them to my satisfaction.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Landers.
Okay, through the chair, a couple quick questions. I think I heard you say they are on the state bid list,
Yes.
okay? And it goes without saying, there's no problem with delivery if we have a primary?
No, well, as I said, we're gonna have to have them both in to do a demonstration. I held off on any of that when I submitted my request until such time as I knew that it was, at least before the council, are gonna be, could be approved. I didn't want to bring them in and go through all that and then find out I was gonna have to wait till next year, because if I had to wait another year and another version of the machine came out, I didn't want to be locked into the last one or have seen that. But the plan is, in short order, hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, I'm going to have them, both companies come out, and so they can show us, how they work and what they do. So,
Yeah, very good, good. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Council Lambers. Council Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What happens to the old equipment?
If we go with the company that currently owns them, we'll get some trade-in value, not a lot, but and I believe that even if we don't go with that company, we still will be able to sell them back to that other company probably for something. We're not going to get a lot for them, but we could get a little bit of trade-in value for them, just because, as I said, there are other cities and towns in Massachusetts that are still using them, so if they can procure more of them, that just means they can use them to strip the parts off of them to fix any that they need to. So,
Thank you, Council Perlman.
Thank you. Appreciate all the answers. I would motion to approve.
Okay.
are you going to do it?
Do you want to do each individual one, or you want to prove it as a total at the end, or?
I'm happy to do either. Just because we just heard it, it might be fresh
That's fine,
to do each one.
absolutely. I'll entertain a motion. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the $152,000 for the polling equipment at the clerks. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Moving on to, if we have any questions going down that list, the Marlborough Police Department. Council Perlman?
Thank you, Chief.
Evening, Chief Georgie.
I appreciate the information you provided in the project description around the 100,000 miles and the usually around 3-year warranty. I'm curious if this is always the make and model that we have. I know as more and more energy efficiency cars are getting on the market and more, hybrid vehicles, I'm wondering if we can get vehicles that have a higher amount of mileage and can last longer, and what that might look like for the department.
Chief, are you on? I don't know if you're on.
Oh, no, there it is.
Thank you.
So all the vehicles we'll be purchasing moving forward will be hybrid. So I tried to explain that we waited a little bit longer for them and they cost a little bit more, but they're all hybrid now. I know one of my officers did go to a Special Olympics event in Boston this weekend, and he saw an all-electric Mustang, which he was sending me pictures of as a wish list, but I'm not sure we're there yet, but I think right now we'll have the hybrids and moving forward.
Okay, do we anticipate it to be over 100,000? That feels low for a hybrid to me.
Right. Well, we don't really have many of them. I think we have 2 right now, so we'll kind of see going forward. But that's the anticipation, is that they'll last longer. That's the hope.
Okay, definitely, like, if there's a way to see, at the end when one has to be replaced, how many miles that
Right.
it did get, that would be great to know, just so we can replace them less frequently, because 3 years seems like not a long time, but I recognize that we want to have it to be the most efficient vehicle that we have, so if it needs to be replaced, that makes sense.
And that's why we send down the chart there that shows all the mileage and all the, on each of the cruisers. And I think going forward, we could kind of designate which ones are hybrid, so you can see how long they've lasted and how many miles they have on them.
And then, since we've been asking about like trade-in value for other things, when we have a vehicle that's labeled fair, right, or poor, and we're trying to, get a new vehicle, what happens to the old one? Is there any value that's returned to the city, or is it sort of not considered in use for, police, so we don't get that value back?
Well, for our unmarked cruisers, which we replaced last year, some of those are returned down to the DPW, or other departments in the city, building department can use those. As far as the marked cruisers go, we normally trade those in. We do get something in a trade. It's unfortunately not a lot, but it also depends on where we go. Different vendors might give us more as a trade-in, but we do get something back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council Orman.
Just to go on with that same discussion, you may want to check, I don't know if they've already decided the longevity of that Mustang, and I don't know the officer that saw it, so, but it's amazing that the maintenance is so little on electric cars, so.
Right.
And I'm not for sure where longevity goes, but you might see some studies out there that lead you to saying, well, 7, 10 years,
Right.
possibilities there with an electric vehicle.
Right, I know Councilor Doucette had sent me some information in the past on the hybrid, so we'll have another discussion moving
You know, and
forward.
hybrids are good too. I had a hybrid, and I think you get twice as much mileage because of the engine not running half the time in most, especially if you're doing city driving, you know,
Right.
so.
Right.
But I'm glad you're looking into innovative technologies, and I hope to see that first electric one someday, and I know there's maybe some challenges with it, but I hope you get to that point someday.
Yeah, I know the Mustang, I've seen it before, it's kind of small. Some of our taller officers won't be able to fit in there, but
And just one other question on the tasers. Does that come with the training that's involved with the taser? Are these newer style tasers that they will have?
yeah, they're an upgraded model, so we have 3 training officers who attend. Axon will put on a training for those officers, then they'll come back and train the department. And they're recertified every year in the taser, so as it changes, the officers attend the training, they come back.
Excellent. I don't know if there's other questions. If there's not, there is. I was going to, hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How are you, Chief?
That's all.
So just curious, I thought I saw in the packet, the life expectancy of a bulletproof vest is how long?
It's 5 years.
Just 5 years. I
years.
couldn't read, I couldn't figure out where. So regarding the tasers, so I guess this will be a question for the mayor, not you, but I'll put you on the spot since you're here. Why isn't tasers or bulletproof vests in the regular budget and not in, why is it included as a capital improvement project?
Well, normally with the vests, they may not be included with the capitals, but projects, but this year there's so many of them
Okay.
that we thought to put them in the capital. I know for next year, it's just kind of the cycle of how it goes. I know next year we have 3 officers who will need new vests.
Okay.
So it's significantly lower.
Okay.
It's just the volume that we had this year.
But if tasers are 60 and they expire every year,
Well, no, the tasers don't expire. They're good for about 5 years.
5 years as well, okay.
Yeah, and this total replacement of 60 tasers will take 5 years, so it's just divided up into 5 years.
perfect. That makes more sense. Thank you.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as the hybrids versus the full electric, the thing about interceptors in general is that they're just parked idling most of the time. And if you have a hybrid, the engine turns off. That's the big advantage. Because the wear and tear on the motor, just sitting there waiting for something to happen, that causes the greatest wear and tear on any car. With interceptors, it's the biggest thing. So with going to hybrid, you kind of alleviate that problem. The electric motor is the starter, so you start pretty quick anyway. Interesting to see about the full electric ones, but I think what I like to see is, if we can get an additional year or 2 out of the hybrids, just because, they should have better longevity than the, all gas engines, so, but we'll see.
Right, that's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
goal going forward, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any further questions for the chief?
I'll motion to approve then.
Okay, I will second that. Motion's been made and second to approve the $325,076.10 for the Marlborough Police Department. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Moving on to the next item is the IT Department. Any questions for Director Gibbs? Councilor Doucette. Good evening, Mr. Director
Good
Gibbs.
evening.
Councilor
So,
Doucette.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question. You were talking about firewall work being done. Is that going to be connecting the water and sewer systems to the internet, or are those systems still going to be air-gapped?
Those systems right now are those systems right now are behind a firewall. They're not accessible.
But are they air-gapped?
They are air-gapped in the sense of, so they're not completely standalone systems. So, for example, if there's an issue with a system, there are 2 devices that can actually access that system. Only 2 devices. So, in that aspect, they are not air-gapped. Does that make sense to you?
So, I was in the industry for a while, so this is a deep dive for me. We've had these conversations before. But when you're talking about the 2 systems, basically, are they 2 specific network systems, or are they 2 devices that are at the facility?
So
Are they
there's
remote or local devices? Let me put it that way.
Excuse me?
Are they remote or local devices when you say?
They are local devices. The only time they are ever remote is if an incident happens. That's when they have to access the system to
Okay,
fix it.
okay,
So-
and that type of security is not going to be changing with the addition of new
No,
phones?
no. It's
Okay.
actually going to be improved.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure, you know, it's basically the operations are going, on security.
Yeah, I mean, off the record here, I would probably want to go into more detail with you and
Yes.
explain how it all works, and I think
Yeah.
you'd be very happy on.
Yeah, I was hoping to do that this week, I never
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
chance, but yeah. So that was my only concern, and I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay. I would like to explain a little bit of the capital. Can I talk about my capital?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Director.
So my capital is 3 pieces here. So one is the firewall replacement. The firewall replacements are end of life after this year. So there's a warranty for the year of $10,000 to cover the cost of the year. And in this year process, we'll be replacing the redundant firewalls. It's going to take us a few months to convert all the configs over to the new firewall and set up the hot spares and all that kind of stuff. So in the year process is when we're going to build out those firewalls. The second part of my capital request is the $160,000 is for a nimble storage device. So right now in IT, we have 2 storage devices. We have a Dell box that is just for video storage. It costed us about $250,000, and to maintain and to warranty that, it's going to be about another $70,000 a year on top of that. It's expensive for just this raw storage device. The Nimble device we have in-house right now is a $60,000 device we bought about 5 years ago, and that covers all our virtual machines hardware, all our data hardware throughout the city, and it's redundant, has 2 brains, it works very good, and we're very happy with it. But the problem is that it's at its end of life. It's 5 years, so it's ends of life as in the end of this July 1st. So we want to replace that Nimble, and what our goal is to replace the Nimble that will handle both video storage and our storage for our virtual machines and so on and so forth. So we'll be able to get that massive savings away from the Dell box and put it all into this Nimble storage and not have to worry about, because we'll also have redundancy and everything else with the Nimble. The last part is our FortiNAC, which is our security device that comes with a firewall product. And what the FortiNAC does is it monitors the internal network for bad actors or any devices that are unusual or anything that you might see like a bad actor does. The way security hacks happen is that somebody steals somebody's password, they get into their machine, they drop something on their machine, and they sit there and listen basically for an IT person to come along and log in and type in their credentials, and then they listen for their credentials, and then they steal their credentials, and then they go back, and then they scan your network, and yada, yada, yada. So what this does is it's a device that if anything like that ever happened, it would scan those devices and make sure that there's no unusual activity right now. Right now, we have a lot of processes in place, so when somebody, their password gets compromised, immediately within less than a minute, their account gets locked out and they can't access anything. So we do have security things in place right now, but this is something that, in case something gets behind us, behind us internally, it's looking internally instead of this way. It's a good device. We'll be very happy with it. My network guys have looked and researched this for a long time now, and they feel like this is the best solution for us. So that's my last device. That was $70,000. So,
Thank you, Director.
hope I answered all that, and if I'm happy to take any questions about the equipment.
Thank you, Council Orem.
With all that information, Mr. Gibbs, I now have questions. Well, when you and Councilor Doucette were chatting, I'm like, what are they talking about? We'll talk later about air gaps. I'm like, okay, I think I understand it. How long are we required to keep our videos and data on these devices?
So
Indefinite?
video, I don't think there's any law or anything as far as video. I know we keep them for at least 60 to 90 days. Video recordings is a storage, so it's not like tape, like you get tapes you're pulling out. So what happens is the way video storage works is all your cameras record to your storage, and say you have a terabyte disk space. It records to 80% of that disk space. And then once it hits that 80%, it starts removing white space. White space is stuff that there's no motion. So it starts cutting out white space. And then when it gets all the white space, then it starts cutting out old video and bringing in the new video. As new video comes in, it deletes the old video. There's no actual number of this is exactly how long it keeps it. It's anywhere between 60 to 90 days. The rule of thumb is if an incident happens, we get notified within the first month of that storage. Then we take that and we archive it. Then it's forever.
So if there's an incident with our police department, they have availability maybe to something that's greater than 1 or 2 years?
Yes, they call all the time.
That's
Yes.
fine, that's a good thing.
Them and the school.
And again, we hear about the cloud, the big computers probably in New York and Los Angeles. Do we have, if something's starting to go on us, like the Nimble or something, I'm just learning all these terms, do we have that opportunity to shift to a cloud for the time being?
We do. We are on the cloud. We have a lot of our storage on cloud. We have a lot of stuff in SharePoint. And matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why we push a lot of our data to SharePoint, because of the security. It scans for licenses, security cards, personal information. It does all that. So as our data gets put into the cloud, it looks at everything, and if it sees anything, it tags it and blocks it. So if anybody by accident puts a license plate or a license or a social security number out there, it'll immediately block that.
And one last question. When you do purchase these products, are they on the state procurement list?
They
or-
have to be, yes.
Well, that's good to
Yes.
know. I thought so, but I didn't know if, in this field, if you could go out and individually try to find a better.
Krista Homey does a fantastic job of procuring all this stuff. She's on top of it.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions? I will entertain a motion. Council Orem.
Motion to approve?
Motion's made, and I will second that to approve the $380,000 for the IT department. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. I'm going to leave this on for the next guy, all right?
Okay, so the next item on that capital improvement project list was for the Marlborough Fire Department for the mattresses, and we did receive a letter from the chief, and I know that's something that's been ongoing that they wanted to add, so I have no issue with that. Any discussion? I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made. I will second that to approve the $25,000 for the Marlborough Fire Department for the mattresses.
With a good night's sleep if they can get one.
Okay, and then the next one was...
Mr. Chair, do you want to
We
call
need to
for
call a
vote?
vote for that?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I interrupted
It's
that
okay.
vote. It was
It's
my
okay.
fault. I
All in favor?
apologize.
We don't
It carries
really-
5-0.
We don't really need a vote, it's one order number, but it's,
Okay, so then the next one was for the Veterans Department. Again, I had no questions or any issues with the $15,000 for the council permit.
No, I was just going to comment that it's really great to see this coming. I know there's been some work behind the scenes from the veterans community to move this forward, so would love if the mayor's office kept us up to date and our veterans director to really know when these come to fruition, what they look like, and how we can support the continuation of that. I'm sure there'll be additional ones that we want down the line. And I will move to approve.
I will second that. Motion is made and seconded to approve $15,000 in the Veterans Department. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries 5-0. Next up is, for the capital projects, is the Department of Public Works. Any question? Good evening, Assistant Commissioner Scott. Good evening, Commissioner Duval.
Good evening.
I'll open that to any questions on the committee. Councilwoman.
Yes, I am all excited about learning. I'm excited about learning about the wash bay equipment. I was so excited that you had it previously and that it helps to preserve our equipment, especially after a snowstorm. What's being added or what's changing with it?
This is essentially to replace the equipment that we have now. It's probably knocking on 10 years old, maybe more now. And this is to simply replace, and when we replace, kind of add new gizmos that goes along with that to be more efficient for us to clean these vehicles.
Does it do the underbody? Do you drive through this thing and it gets all sides and underbody?
So I wish.
Oh.
That's the much higher cost option. This is for equipment that is outside. You're referencing a drive-through.
I thought it
wash
was,
bay,
that's
like
what
a
I thought it
commercial
was.
size.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, we've got a section of our garage that's it's got various hoses and nozzles and things that spin underneath the bodies. It makes hot water for us. It's more of a manual process, but it's upgrading that equipment.
Well, undercarriage, though.
It will do the undercarriage, good.
But you won't be driving through it. You just drive in,
And then it goes to
drive
town.
out, yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great option, because I've plowed through the years, and since I was 15, I've been plowing, and boy, does that snow and salt do a job on trucks, in equipment. So I'm very happy to hear that we're investing into this, and down the road, if we need something more, have you figured on how much more value or years you're getting out of your equipment because of this wash bay?
I think that would be hard to calculate.
Yeah, I mean, but you're seeing less rot, I hope, and so forth?
Well, if you look at the vehicles, where the ones we're replacing are 19, 16, 16, 20, municipal vehicle is 12 to 15 years, so.
So you're getting some benefit.
We are.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing antiques, but if they're not capable of being driven, we want to make sure you're safe on the roads and so forth. So that's pretty much my questions, Mr. Chair, and thank you both.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilor Perlman.
Thank you, Chair Irish, and thank you both for being here. Just some questions. I know you mentioned the repairs can become very high, and then it makes sense to actually purchase new equipment. I'm wondering with some of the, repairs, I know for the second one around the dump with the plow, you listed, $28K in the last 5 years, but for example, number 3, it just says over $57K in repair parts. Are those also over longer periods of time? I'm imagining this is
Yeah,
the accumulation of repairs, and it wasn't.
last 5 years or so, yeah.
Okay, so all of them are representing cumulative repairs? Okay. And I know it was sort of touched on the number of years that these vehicles have been in service, and we were just talking about only, 3 years or so for the police vehicles. So was this just that they were able to last this long? I know you mentioned the 12 to 15 years, but curious how come these were able to last as long as they were? Was it the mileage, or we just,
Our fleet personnel, they put it all together. I mean, we've replaced engines, we replaced, so if you're not getting the vehicle, you keep replacing it. You're cutting out metal, you're replacing the metal. They just patch them all together and keep them going till we get a new one, so.
Okay, and I'm assuming, which is, as vehicles become more and more efficient and effective, that ones that we were purchasing now will last longer than the ones before. Is that the intention, that hopefully we'd get more life out of them?
We try to squeeze as much life as we possibly can out of every piece of equipment that we have. Part of the issue that we have is the nature of the work that these vehicles, do for us. Picture a salt truck. And, that applies the salt to the roadways, and we know what salt does just to our own cars. So imagine this vehicle, its life, over the course of its life, spreading, thousands and thousands of tons of salt. So you can imagine what that does to a vehicle over time. And even at that, with the great repair staff that we have and the equipment that we have, we can extend the life much longer than if we didn't, take care of them, obviously.
Well, we appreciate how much care goes into these vehicles, and they are tough vehicles to have lasted this long doing that kind of work, and yes, I'm in favor of this.
Thank you, Councilor Byrne. Councilor Neiman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad we started talking about just all the work that you guys do to make sure that these trucks and all the other pieces of equipment are working, because it is, clearly a full-time job, and so it's kudos to you, and clearly the wash bay equipment is necessary, so I appreciate that being put forward. How many pieces of equipment do you guys have on the road or that are for the road that are under your purview?
Probably have probably 60 to 70 somewhere.
So quite a
They're not always on the road.
Right, but when they can be on the road or when they're needed.
Here every day.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
it's a tremendous amount. So, I mean, to that point, it's great to see 5 replacements up. I imagine this isn't the whole list. I imagine you guys have quite a bit. What didn't make the list that we're going to be seeing, I guess, is my question. What are those tickets that were, if you had your dream list, what else is next?
Oh, there's quite a few.
Oh, yeah, right. There's a lot on our list.
Okay.
Sure.
2 million would be nice a year.
Yeah.
That's it.
So just so you know that the first one, that's out of service. So that's gone. And those are manufactured by Sterling. They don't make those anymore.
Okay.
They don't even make the parts. They haven't made the parts for 7 years. So if we're not taking one of those out every year to cannibalize it for now we have 4 left. We have one ordered from last year, which we still haven't gotten, but,
Yeah.
so that's kind of the nature of it. When we don't have the parts, you have to take it out of service, which is down a vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's a key snow, the 6-wheelers are the big ones. We can't get contractors anymore with big equipment, so we're the big equipment now, and if we lose those big vehicles, it puts us behind.
Yep.
Means it takes longer to get the plowing done and everything. Yeah.
So we can expect some in the next couple of years. We'll see you back.
We'll be back.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Neiman. Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when I look at the list, I see sander, plow, which is great for the winter. I'm assuming that these vehicles are year-round vehicles.
Yep.
So if you can enlighten how they're utilized during the non-winter months, that would be great.
The facility one is used for like carrying lumber or other materials for facilities. Parks is a lot of time, landscaping materials or loom or something. What else do we have? Parks. The sewer one is a foreman truck. That doesn't have a sander. But even in the wintertime, if you know how the winters are now, it used to be you start snowing and the things used to stay on there. Now the smaller F-350s, we can take a fork truck and pull the sander off and now utilize it and actually put the hut box on, and now it turns into a pothole patcher. The bigger ones stay on, or the bigger ones actually don't have a sander. They're actually built in that you put the salt in the truck body, the older ones. And we still have some of those that we use for larger asphalt jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dumas. Councilor Orm.
Just one other question, and I'm sure I already know the answer. Do you ever have any stock that you can resell after to another DPW or whatever, or do you wear them down to the point where they're not even salvageable?
We typically wear them down, but we put them out for auction. Almost everything goes out for auction. We don't typically see other public works departments buying them. On occasion, that does happen. But mostly, construction companies will buy some of these older vehicles for parts often. It used to be, if we had a police cruiser, chief is in the back, that we would, we'd auction those off, and then they'd become, taxi cabs in New York City back when we had Crown Victorias. So there's different, outlets there for these vehicles. Some of them just go for scrap. But we do get as much money back as we can through the auction or sale process.
Well, and I would like to compliment your fleet maintenance staff, send the word down. I think all of us city councilors feel the same way. Keep them as long as we can, run them as long as we can, keep them nice and clean. With that, I'd like to motion to approve this line item.
I will second that motion to approve the $701,000 for the Public Works Department. Any further discussion?
I'd like to just bring up a point, Mr. Chairman. I think the big thing I see that you buy pieces of equipment for multi-use. There's one truck there that can take a dumpster. It can be used by the tree department, and, that's really impressive. I get to know you guys pretty well, because I deliver hot chocolate and coffee during the winter to these guys that are 10 feet down a hole, and it's almost the iced tea season now. But I get to know the equipment pretty well from the cameras that, take pictures of the pipes in the different trucks. And I think the big thing, and the reason I'm making this comment, I think it's a great morale booster, and I see, talking to your crews, they're very pleased. They feel that you people give them the equipment that they can do the job that you want them to do. And I think that it's a credit to you guys, and I think it's a credit to your people too. But I do see this equipment around, and it's pretty flexible and pretty good stuff. And I know wear and tear is tough, but just keep up the good work, and I think it's our responsibility to continue giving you people what you need to do what we want. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Lance. So motions are made and seconded to approve the $701,000. All in favor? It carries 5-0. Thank you, Assistant Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded to,
Don't we have to vote on the actual order number?
Are we voting on the
The
whole
order
thing
number?
as well?
for the total.
If I could, Mr. Chair, so
Sure.
you want to suspend the rules for the June 26th meeting because after June 30th, free cash goes away. So if you don't suspend the rules, then you don't get the opportunity to buy all this equipment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rex. That was gonna,
Motion to suspend the rules as noted by the council president.
okay, all in favor of suspension? Suspension carries.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned at 7:53 PM. Thank you, Finance Committee.